So from yesterday, some small municipalities in Japan began distributing these 100,000 yen one-off cash handouts to help cushion the financial blow suffered as a result of the outbreak of the coronavirus. So when the government started contemplating giving these 100,000 yen cash handouts, I think the first question that came on the lips of most foreigners resident in Japan was whether or not they were going to be eligible. And the early mood was quite pessimistic. I think it revolved around this term kokumin, which was being used, like this 100,000 yen handout is available for kokumin. Now, kokumin, if you take the kanji of this, literally translates to country person. So with the country being Japan, the question was whether or not this is just for kind of native Japanese people or if anybody living in Japan is going to be eligible. Well, we now know that perhaps most foreigners resident in Japan are eligible for this 100,000 yen one-off cash payment. So, how to get your hands on this 100,000 yen? Well, Japan's Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications have come up with a guide to the special cash payments, an English language guide to the special cash payments. Now, you can access this guide from the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications homepage, but at the time of making this video, the link could only be found on the Japanese version, not the English language version. Now, you'll need some level of Japanese to actually be able to navigate the Japanese version of this site. It's not the easiest thing to read, but the link is on there if you can find it. And once you click on it, you come to this rather basic but very concise and clear guide on how to claim your 100,000 yen. So let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. So the guide to the special cash payments keeps things pretty clear and simple, and in fact it even details at the top here that the information required for the application is kept to a minimum. So that's going to be good news then for foreigners living in Japan trying to get their hands on this 100,000 yen. Who is it that's eligible? Well, according to the guide here, it says those who are registered with the basic resident registration system as of April 27th, 2020. So this basic resident registration system, I don't think we need to worry about this too much. Basically, if you're a middle to long-term resident of Japan with one of those residence cards, or perhaps the gaijin card as they're more commonly known, that's likely an indication that you are eligible for this special payment. But ultimately it seems that you'll know if you're eligible because your local municipality is going to send out an application form, and it says here the application forms will be sent out as soon as possible. Now, we understand that some of these small municipalities have already started doing this from yesterday. Word from the report seems to be, though, that the biggest cities in Japan, it's going to take a little bit more time to get the systems and the paperwork and everything sorted out. So if you're living in a bigger city in Japan, it might be that you have to wait a little bit longer to start this process. And the organisers here are asking us as much as possible to apply by mail or online, again to help prevent the spread of the COVID-19 causing new coronavirus. So what do we need? Postal applications then. It looks like you need to fill in the relevant form. You need a bank account with a kind of number to act as the sort of wire transfer, and you need one or two other documents which is going to tell us about later on. Now, you can also do this using your My Number card over on the special sort of My Number portal website. The My Number card, you'll know if you've got it. It's not that kind of sorry looking paper bit of card that you got when this My Number thing actually started. You actually had to apply for the My Number card, which I believe is a sort of glossy plastic thing. So you'll know if you've got that. If we scroll down to the bottom here, there's a sort of Q&A section which tells us what kind of documents we need to prepare other than the application form. So you'll need some identity verification documents for your postal application form. This could be a copy of your My Number card, driver's license card, health insurance card. I'm assuming also your gaijin card will suffice for this. And you'll also need some documents to verify the payment of the transfer account. So a copy of your bank book, cash card, printed screen of an online banking service, this kind of thing. What we also like about this document is that it does directly address the question, are foreigners eligible for the benefit? And as they've created an English language documentation explaining how to get your hands on it, one would believe that the answer to this question is a given, but anyway, they've detailed it here for us. Yes, if you're a foreigner registered with the basic resident registration system as of April 27, 2020, you are eligible. If there is anything that we've learned from this new My Number system that the Japanese introduced a few years ago, is that fraud is a problem. Now, this probably won't apply to the savvy kind of young working adult, but it is a particular problem amongst Japan's elderly, who it seems are increasingly susceptible to cases of fraud here. But anyway, this section of the document does detail that you will never be asked to use an ATM, and there's a couple of other bits and bobs in there that you should check out to make sure that you're not going to be a victim of fraud regarding this 100,000 yen one-off cash payment. There are a couple of phone numbers here that you can call for your inquiries. From May 2nd, it's going to be this toll-free number here that you can see. Up until today, it's this regular number. That's available up until 6:30 p.m. today. Again, from May 2nd, it goes to this toll-free call line here. Okay, so a couple of things to note about this guide to the special cash payments. First of all, we tried to call one of the helplines or one of the consultation lines that was listed on the guide, and we couldn't get through. It was simply too busy. And likewise, if you've got a My Number card, you can go over to the My Number portal site and apply for the 100,000 yen cash payment through that. Now, when we went onto the site and switched it to the English language, the actual button that you press in order to get through to claim your 100,000 yen at the time of our trying was still listed in Japanese only. And even when we pressed it, we couldn't get through. The site was just too busy, it seemed. So it seems like a lot of people are in a hurry to try and get their hands on this 100,000 yen. Also worth noting is that once you get your, in terms of postal applications at least, I think, once you get the paperwork sent to you in order to be able to apply for it, according to the guide, you have to make that application within 3 months. So you've got plenty of time. But again, don't be too complacent, otherwise the deadline might have passed before you realize it. Now, in terms of the actual postal application form, at the time of making this video, the form looked something like this and was available to us only in Japanese. Now you can see it in more detail up on the screen here somewhere. This is just a sample of the form. Whether or not this is actually going to come out in other languages, we don't know at the moment, as in we here at City Cost, we don't know at the moment. However, the people putting this together have said that they're going to try and make it as simple as possible, so maybe other languages will be available, we don't know. As for the guide itself, that is available in languages other than English and Japanese. Again, if you go over onto the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications homepage, you can download guides in different languages from there. So that's all we know so far. If you've got any of your own experiences about getting your hands on this 100,000 yen cash payment, let us know in the comments below and we'll keep you updated as much as we can.